Los Angeles Times carried it that she sustained lacerations that were consistent with being cut by glass. She came out accusing my son, you shot me, you shot me, you shot me. Later on down, we have so-called expert testimony coming from a whole other doctor was not present that night about removing bullet fragments. And again, nobody knows where these bullet fragments are to this very day.
The rapper Tory Lanez is serving a 10-year jail sentence for shooting and wounding Megan Thee Stallion. Last week, he was stabbed 14 times by another inmate in a California prison, causing both of his lungs to collapse. Many in the rap community and beyond want Lanez to be released. They say he's not safe, that he didn't get a fair trial. A petition calling on California Governor Gavin Newsom to pardon him was shared by Drake this week and has 340,000 signatures. Well, the case has divided the hip-hop world from the outset, with many of his biggest stars taking opposing sides in a very public feud between Megan Thee Stallion and Lanez. But is there more to this case than a popularity contest linked to a serious crime? Well, joining me now are Son Star Peterson, Tory Lanez's father, and Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Well, welcome to both of you. Mr. Peterson, thank you very much indeed for coming on Uncensored. And first of all, I was, like everyone, very shocked to hear about what happened to Tory in prison. He's sustained a lot of injuries. Can you just start by telling me how he is?
Yes. First of all, Piers, thank you for having me on. Thank you for having us on. And it's an honor to meet you, sir. Right now, my son is recovering, and we're thankful for that. We thank God for that. This was a very brutal, unprovoked situation, and I know that many people like to speculate a lot of things, and when we don't have facts on the internet, people sort of provide their own, and some people, I guess, are well-meaning, but there's just a lot of misinformation that goes out. However, I'm thankful that he is recovering very well at this time, and so we're grateful. We're very thankful for his recovery. Not for the grace of God, my son could have been out of here. So we are very, very thankful right now.
The person who attacked him is, I believe, serving a considerable prison sentence for killing somebody before. Do you believe it was a deliberate attempt to kill your son? And do you have any idea yet, from any information you've gleaned, as to whether what the motivation for that may have been, or whether it's connected at all to the reason why he's in prison to start with?
Good question.
I don't. I wouldn't want to speculate on what the person's motivation is, because motive comes from deep within somebody's heart, and so I don't have a window to that. However, you know, I wouldn't say that it has. Honestly, sir, I really just can't. I can't speak to the motive. It would be impossible for me to be able to speak to that person's motive.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he says that it may come deep within a person's heart. Well, it could also come from someone outside of prison that has a lot of money or doesn't want Tory to speak, right? There's a lot of speculation that this is a setup. I think for his father, he don't care. He just wants his son out.
Have you spoken to your son, since, I presume you have, since he was attacked?
Oh, yeah. We've spoken on several occasions. My family, we come together and we pray on a daily basis. This has been pretty well 5 years now, almost 5 years since this whole incident ever came to the public's attention. And since that day, we come together sometimes, most times twice a day, wherever we are in the world. We are on a phone call and we pray. And thankfully, a lot of times he's able to join us. He will, call in from the prison tablet, and we're able to come together and we pray. So since the situation happened, my wife and I, we were able to be with him from the very first day that we heard. This incident happened about 6:30 in the morning, and then by the time we were cleared to go in to see him at the hospital, by the time we got in, it was about 1:30 that afternoon. We spent practically the whole afternoon with him, following day, and then the next day after that, when he was discharged and went back. So, yeah, I've been in pretty well constant contact with him.
Before I move on, I just want to ask you, are you 100% convinced that your son did not commit the shooting for which he's serving this sentence?
I'm absolutely convinced. I've always been convinced. And a lot of the evidence that had been suppressed over the years, a lot of shenanigans that went on in the courtroom, are now coming to light. There's been so much foul play. And I'm not just saying this as some sort of pissed off parent. I mean, one of the things, just by way of an example, and I know that our attorneys have spoken to this, you know, they have laid out things line by line. And I want to even take this moment this is the first time I'm meeting Representative Luna face to face. I want to thank you for the masterful job you've done getting in, out over the last little while, over the last couple of days on your, on your platform so that people can know exactly what happened. But let me tell you from a parental standpoint, a parental observer of my son walking through this. I'll never forget the day when we're sitting outside of the courtroom getting ready for court to reconvene. And imagine the only independent witness, which should have been the only objective witness in this case, was a gentleman by the name of Sean Kelly. Interestingly enough, the only person that would be able to have an unbiased viewpoint of what actually happened. Imagine that the prosecution did not want to call that witness. Why? This is the only independent witness, but yet you don't want to call this person because obviously his bird's eye view will not support what you want the narrative to be. And so when we sat outside, my wife and I, we saw this gentleman come in and we sat down and it was identified for us that, oh, this is Mr.
If that's the case, though, why didn't the defense call the eyewitness if that's what they did not want the narrative to be? I can absolutely understand why the prosecution wouldn't do it. Prosecution wouldn't do it because it's Tory Lanez's bodyguard. Perhaps he would be incentivized not to say that Tory did it. But why didn't the defense do it if that's not the case?
Sean Kelly, he's sitting across from us on the other side of the hallway. And as we sat there, the prosecution came out, one of their detectives or investigators rather, and one of the prosecutors, they took this gentleman, they went upstairs, I believe it was to the 14th floor at that time. By the time this man came down, the witness they did not want to call, this man came down and his testimony became so embellished with other nonsense that people who saw it just looked at it and said, this is crazy. So I saw these kind of things going on all throughout this case. People trying to bury evidence, not trying, burying evidence. A judge that refused to allow certain things to come into the courtroom or to be said and was totally biased on the part of the prosecution. So the whole thing just stunk of a setup.
Just one last question, because you've made me think of this. But if your son was not responsible for Megan Thee Stallion being shot, we do know that indisputably she was shot. Who shot her?
First of all, the whole idea of her being shot is a speculation.
Yeah.
That's a speculation. It's to this point has not been proven that she was even shot. And I want to make it really clear because I'm asked questions a lot as it regards to Megan. Megan is a young woman. I'm a father. I don't have any animosity to this girl at all. We pray for her. I've said that publicly on several occasions. My son included in our prayers. We have prayed for her on many occasions. So anything that I have to say is not to put her down, make her look like this person or that person. But the reality is that in all of this, how can you have a situation where in pretrial, the police, LAPD, says that the bullet fragments they had collected from the hospital just mysteriously vanishes.
Yeah.
It goes missing. I would think that evidence is something that is protected in any police department, but they just mysteriously go missing. So there's no bullet fragments to be presented at trial. You have a situation where a gun is shot, and the gun, which is supposed to be your main piece of evidence, does not even show up at court, but some picture of a weapon that resembles this is the type of weapon they say that was used. The weapon does not show up at court. There is absolutely no, we hear this point of 0.1% of his DNA on the gun.
That's
Do you know
like
what that
zero.
actually means when you investigate it? That over 1.5 billion black people on the planet could have been their DNA. Yet my son is convicted for having used this gun, where an expert witness from the LAPD gets in there and he testifies as an expert of how many pounds of pressure it takes to shoot this gun and to shoot it 1, 2, 3 times and on and on and on. Yet the only evidence you have could fit the profile of 1.5 billion black people on planet Earth. The whole thing stinks of a conspiracy, and it stinks of a cover-up.
Shout out to Tory Lanez' father. Can you guys imagine if every man in America had a father like Tory Lanez? And it's also interesting, too, to understand Tory Lanez' image prior to understanding who his father is, who his family is. It didn't look like this, right? It didn't look like this at all. But to see how well-spoken that his father is, to see how passionate and how driven that the father is. And my guess is that it would go just beyond just defending his son and trying to get his son up out of prison, even after being stabbed 14 times. This seems like an extremely passionate man that absolutely loves his son and wants the best for his son. Probably heart torn to pieces to see what has been done, this injustice that has been done to Tory Lanez, to hear all of the discrepancies with the evidence. Y'all didn't have the gun in the courtroom. Huh? How does that make any sense? You can't find the bullet fragments? Huh? Was she even shot? Or at the point that she said that she was shot, she was shot? Absolutely insane. But shout out to Tory Lanez' father. I'd love to see more examples of fathers like him defending what they know is correct and standing on business. Let's continue.
Okay, let me turn to Representative Luna. You've taken up this case, and you've done it at a time when Drake has shared a petition to have Tory Lanez released.
They used
Chris
to be
Brown
enemies.
Posted Free Tory on his Instagram story. Kanye West has supported his release as well. I want to play, before I get your explanation for why you've taken up this case, I want to play, this is a version of events from Megan Thee Stallion herself, from her own documentary about what she says happened.
Oh, here we go.
We left
What?
and go home.
This is the one they had
I
me
was in
in.
the car with Tory and his driver and Kelsey. We are all arguing. I don't remember exactly what I was saying.
They
but I know I
animated
was talking
this.
shit, and he probably was a little offended.
There we go.
I tried to get out the car one time. I'm over this shit. They was like, Megan, get back in the car, get back in the car. We almost to your house. I get out the car again. I ain't even got shit on. I just got on a swimsuit. And I'm walking off, and this mother just started hollering at me. He was like, dance, bitch.
Yo, this is so crazy. I don't think I've officially watched this. I can't believe they animated this shit to that degree. No, they did not animate Tory Lanez to look like Gangstalicious with the Tupac tattoo. They might as well just said right thug life up on it. And of course, they had to make sure they get that gun tattoo that's right on his sternum. And it's not any gun. It apparently is an assault rifle. I can already see Megan Thee Stallion's team like, hey, listen, make them look as gangster as what you possibly can. And it's just so interesting, too, because look at the disposition and demeanor of his father. It doesn't match this thug persona that they've animated for everyone else to see. And here we go, animated Megan as if she's the complete and utter damsel in distress. 47 triple ZF size breast and a miraculously juicy hindquarters with blood skirting about the foot. Why did y'all send me this before? The great lengths that they will go to absolutely victimize and then also make profit off of the demise of another person while pushing their odd stance of gender wars within America, as if the things that she was originally saying within her live stream made any damn sense. After telling everybody that she stepped on glass, the police rolled up to the car, and instead of her running to the police, telling them that, hey, listen, one of these people in here just tried to kill me, she went back into the car where then they told her to get out of the car. Tell me, if you really thought, or if someone was really trying to off you, why would you go back into the car or the situation with the person with the firearm? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, let's hear what the Congresswoman has to say.
It's a very dramatic sort of recounting there in animated form of what happened. She then talked about it again in an interview with Gayle King on CBS, the morning show there in 2022.
About them having S relationships.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. Yes. And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, dance, and he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like he shot a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And I was so scared.
No tears?
I didn't even want to move. I didn't want to move too quick, like, cause I'm like, oh my God, if I take the wrong step, I don't know if he can shoot something that's like super important. I don't know if he could shoot me and kill me. Like.
And the final clip I want to play, this is where, in her own documentary again, she talks about that interview and admits she may not have been entirely truthful. Let's take a look at this.
Yes, bitch, I lied to Gayle King, bitch. First of all, I didn't know that bitch was even gonna ask me about that shit. Bitch, I always want to talk about this shooting. Why'd you ask me about fucking Tory? That's not what this is about. Even if I was, I fucking...
So you're a liar?
Maybe twice on a drunk night. Bitch, you kept catching
that means 27.
Out of my mind.
This chick.
No, I don't think you need to be a conspiracy theorist, Representative Luna, to see there's a lot of inconsistency going on here. She denied to Gayle King that there was any relationship with Tory. She then admits that there had been, that she lied. She doesn't admit to lying about the circumstances of the shooting. But
by the way, she felt comfortable admitting that after Tory Lanez was locked up. Really?
This goes to the heart of her veracity. Why have you taken up this case?
Well, first of all, Piers, thank you so much for having us on to discuss this. And I just want to applaud you and your outlet for actually being able to showcase some of the facts here. Look, I don't have any connections to the rap industry, Mr. West, Mr. Brown. The only people that I really know involved in this are Miss Amber Rose, who actually initially flagged this for me and connected me with Tory's attorney. And when I looked at the evidence, and remember, I'm a member of House Oversight and Accountability, and I actually am the chairwoman of a task force that conducts investigations, most notably into the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So I'm all about the facts. And what I can tell you is that the evidence in this case overwhelmingly speaks to the fact that Mr. Lanez is actually being incarcerated, I would say, as an innocent man. And what I can tell you is, even to your question on what happened with who indeed may have pulled the trigger and, allegedly shot Megan Thee Stallion. Look, I don't know Miss Stallion, but what I can tell you is that the evidence says that there are no bullet fragments and that there are x-rays that the legal team, Mr. Lane's team, actually has that we'll be presenting. What I can also tell you is based on the evidence that I've seen, again, that number 0.01% DNA match, alleging that it's Mr. Lane's, when in actuality, they actually did not choose to test the other 4 individuals there. No fingerprints found on the magazine. By any arguable case, if this was a murder trial, he would actually be acquitted because there is no evidence. And so what I will tell you is, one of the things that people ask is, well, why are you getting involved as a federal representative when this is a California state? He's not from, Florida, or he's not represented by a Florida member of Congress. What purview do you have? And what I will say, Piers, is that I have a platform and I have the ability on a federal level to impact prison reform. And what I can tell you is everything in this case, I don't believe that he was actually given due process. I believe it was a stacked trial. I believe the evidence speaks for itself. And I am willing to actually cross party lines to work with the Democrats to secure pardon from Governor Newsom's office. And we're currently in the process of setting up talks with Governor Newsom. I do think that he is going to do the right thing. I think that the evidence speaks for itself. I don't know. Wow. I didn't know that Drake had posted that petition, but what I will tell you is that was the right thing for him to do. And I hope more women specifically in the rap community can come forward and speak to this truth, because as you heard from Ms. Stallion herself, she admitted to lying to Gayle King. And what I will also tell you is I'm also have been informed that there's actually ring footage, and that will likely also be released here pretty soon. I know we are helping to put the evidence out there to the American people. But I do believe that this is really a terrible case, and what was done to this family is unacceptable. And I will be continuing to push for his full pardon. I think that people owe them an apology. And furthermore, I'd like to finally say this, that I actually spoke to Mr. Lane's on the phone in prison yesterday, actually. And he is actually going to get very involved in criminal justice reform to ensure that this doesn't happen to other people, because in his case, he has an incredible family supporting him. He has the financial backing to fight this, but many people don't. And so that's where we are going to continue to champion these causes at the federal level, even all the way to the White House and in Washington, D.C.
Dang. Well, I'd love to talk to him myself. It does sound a fascinating story. Just before I let you go, just to be clear, do you actually think a gun was fired at all then, or could that in itself be in question? And if it was fired, who do you think fired it?
I don't know who fired it, but what I will tell you is that based on the evidence that I've seen and that the Tories' attorneys will be presenting to the American people, I think that there are a lot of things in question. And I would say that, look, Piers, you know that I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I grew up in a very rough area. I was at a high school where there was a gang shooting. When someone gets shot, there's evidence of that. My husband was shot in Afghanistan in 2014, and the evidence isn't lining up.
So you do not think she was actually shot?
I'm not a criminal investigator in that sense. So I'm just going to go on record for saying that the evidence as of right now is showing that there are no bullet fragments that have been presented, which I'll let people assume what they will on that.
Yep. Okay, so final question for you, Sonstar.
Can I speak?
Sonstar,
really,
I was going to come to you.
Can I just speak really quickly to that?
Yeah.
It's interesting, going back, that there was a time when all of this nothing was really being said about it amongst the party that was there on that particular night. Then an article appeared in the Los Angeles Times, okay? It wasn't us that put it out. The Los Angeles Times spoke to the fact that a doctor, I believe it's a Lafredo, who was the emergency physician on duty that night when she was brought to the hospital, he said, and the Los Angeles Times carried it, that she sustained lacerations that were consistent with being cut by glass, okay? So somebody now went online and commented or said something about that fact that the Los Angeles Times carried this. This is when, from the other side now, she came out accusing my son, you shot me, you shot me, you shot me. Later on down, we have so-called expert testimony coming from a whole other doctor was not present that night about removing bullet fragments. And again, nobody knows where these bullet fragments are to this very day. There's just been a lot of lies, a lot of cover up. And I believe this whole case has been about truth versus the politics of power. But the one thing about truth is light. You're never going to suppress it. You might keep it down for a while, but it's going to come out and it's going to shine like the sunlight.
Do you have a final
Piers,
message?
if I could just,
yes.
Yeah, if I could just follow up and say this, also to the reason why Mr. Lanes couldn't speak publicly to this is there's a gag order that was placed on him by the team bringing charges, and when you don't have the ability to speak, that sends a pretty powerful message. And so part of my job is representing not just my constituents, but also ensuring that this doesn't happen in the future, and that's not right. So I'll speak the truth for him, and I'm going off facts. I'm presenting the evidence, and the people will decide. And I hope that Gavin Newsom does the right thing.
It is absolutely wild to me that you can have this many injustices, this many inaccuracies, this many inconsistencies, and then be given a gag order after the case so you can't even speak about it. Think about how wild that is. But it's crazy because media was actually speaking for Tory. We were calling out all of these inconsistencies this entire time. And what did they do? Mainstream media made it seem as though everybody who was talking out against him are misogynists, male chauvinist pigs. This is why it's so important that the information, just as his father said, gets out, because this information will bring light. And people are making decisions today based off of lies. And if you make decisions based off of lies, you are making decisions that you were manipulated into. I think between Tory's father as well as the Congresswoman, this is his best chance at becoming pardoned. And I think with the utilization of these decentralized platforms such as Piers Morgan's Uncensored, there is enough public interest now to reinvestigate this case. And I know I cannot wait until I see this security cam footage. All right, guys, keep locked to the channel. Let me know down in the comment box what it is that you think about where we are at right now. Do you think that Daystar's father did a good job? Do you think that the Congresswoman is still representing them well? I want to see what you guys think about this as we continue to get updates. But thank you guys so much. Until next time.
She belongs to the street.
Girl, don't hold my hand. You a mattress actress on the OnlyFans. Get your money, girl, but damn, how is that your only plan? What you gonna do when you get too old to strip and dance? Get up out your echo chamber screaming period and yes. You a low down dirty woman if you try to get knocked up by a high value man.